Hello again everybody, this is Britjet's PSX tips on the Aerowings PSX 747-400 desktop simulation, and today I'm going to be doing the second part of the go-around videos, which is other issues about go-arounds that may be of interest and a few hints and tips. So here we go. Okay, I'm speaking February 2015. We've just had 10.0.2 on PSX 747 and the go-around has changed a little bit from my previous video, so I just thought I'd quickly do that one. We're coming down to the runway here and we're going to carry out a low go-around. With one push of the toga switch, the aircraft will give us 2,000 feet a minute. If it can't achieve that, it will put on more thrust. So initially you get a reduced thrust, and then if need be it will increase. If you press the toga button again, then the thrust will go to the full thrust ref, which at the moment is GA, and it will go up to 1.7. So I'll talk you through the go around as it is now. Here we go. Coming down, I'm going to go around at 20 feet.
100. 50. 30. 20.
There's the go around. Flaps are coming up. Positive climb gear up, and you'll see the thrust increasing to a nominal value to give you 2,000 feet a minute, like that. When you're at 400 feet you can engage a lateral mode, which I'm going to do, and basically the airplane will climb away very nicely now with the autopilot in, and a pitch attitude there of just over 15 degrees. And then you would accelerate in the normal way when you get to 1,000 feet above the airfield, which we're just coming to now, by pressing flight level change, hit the speed button, which doesn't do anything at the moment, and then hit an appropriate speed, so 190 knots to accelerate. Easy peasy. Flaps to 10 and off we go. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, this time we're going to do the same approach with one push of the toga, and after a little while I'll push it again and we'll see what happens. So we're on our way, coming down to decision 50, point, 30, pressing toga. 20. We have thrust toga toga. Up comes the gear. Reduced thrust go around, 2,000 feet a minute. LNAV's going in. So see the thrust? I'm going to press the toga button again. Everything goes forward to the stops. Now if you wanted to moderate this thrust, what you can do is press the thrust button. Here we go. I'm going to press the thrust button. Watch the enunciation at the top of the upper ICAS. There you go. It goes to a climb setting. The thrust reduces, you've now got a more manageable aircraft. Of course there's nothing to stop you going flitch speed 190 as well, which I'm doing now, and that's the other way of moderating your climb thrust. The thrust button, I'm just freezing the sim there, interesting switch. It's a little bit overkill. Many airline pilots don't use it. They used to say in my old airline that if you pressed it, it made the wings fall off, and that was enough for me. The old adage, if you don't understand it, don't touch it, probably applies to the thrust button. It does have one or two useful functions, and that's the one I've just shown you there, which is to reduce your thrust on a climb out from toga to a climb thrust setting, or indeed to a con setting if you've got an engine failed. So that is the full climb thrust, full toga thrust go around. Okay, here's another little one. This is what can happen to you if the go around happens rushed. We're going around from quite a high altitude here, and we've got quite a low altitude in the alt cell, so not a lot of time to get things done. So you might miss your lateral mode and you might miss your flight level change speed. So in that case it will stay in toga toga. Okay, let's give it a go and see what happens. I'm going to press the toga twice as well just to make it interesting. So we're moving, we decide to go around, there we go, and we're on our way. Shooting up, thank you Sarah, we're away. I've missed my lateral mode, I've missed my flitch mode. The airplane's shooting away, it will capture the altitude, and then watch the thrust and the speed. You can see the speed runs away with you, and actually if you don't do anything, the aeroplane will now carry on to just below the limit speed you've got there of 235 knots, which is our flap 20 setting. Can happen. How do you rescue that? Easy. Press the speed switch like that. The auto throttle will now come in, the thrust levers will come back, and you've got control of the speed again. Alright, I started talking about the thrust switch. Let me talk a little bit more. This is the switch that makes your wings fall off if you press it. If you don't understand it, don't press it. It's a multifunction switch, and if you read the technical blurb on it, you'll probably want to lie down in a darkened room. However, two things. It's a two-function switch really. Certain presses it will light up. If it lights up, then the thrust levers will advance to thrust ref. You might or might not want that to happen. If it doesn't light up, all it does is reduce your reference limit to the next one down. So if it was go around, it would go to a climb setting. If it was an engine out, go around, it would go to con. But here we are on the approach, nicely flying down. Let me give you an example how this switch can mess you up if you're not careful. As I said, if you press it and it lights, the thrust will increase. So I'm quite happy on this approach, everything's going fine. I'm going to try and change the speed in the speed window with the knob, and by accident I press the thrust switch. Watch what happens to the thrust levers. Thrust goes up, speed goes up, and that really is it. It will increase thrust all the way to the appropriate limit speed, which would be the, in this case, the flap 25 limit speed of 210 knots. So that's one mode to think about. Okay, here's what the thrust switch does in reducing your limits. We've leveled off at 2,000 feet after a successful go around, and I've still got go around on the upper ICAS. If I now press the thrust switch in altitude hold there, you'll see the limit just reduces there, and you'll notice the light didn't come on. So it's a two-function switch, and I recommend you have a good read through that. But as I say, if you don't understand it, don't touch it. Okay, playmates, here's a little situation. No prizes for guessing where we are here. Little airfield in the middle of a mountain valley, and I'm going to be trying to land manually with the autopilot out and the flight director off. What I've not taken into account of here is a strong crosswind from the left, and you can see the track line is going off to the right hand side from the nose of the aircraft on the nav display. So I'm going to make a mess of this because I don't appreciate that, and I'm going to fly a go around. Now when I press the togas, you'll see the flight director bars will pop up even though the switch is off. This is a sub mode for the toga, and I'll then carry out the go around, but I won't select a lateral mode at 400 feet, and we'll just watch what the aircraft does. So here we go then, we're going to let the aircraft go. I'm going to do my best to make a hash of the approach, and I realise it's not working. I'm pressing toga now, following the demands, retracting the flaps, bringing the gear up, and I'll engage the autopilot so we can watch what the aircraft does. There's something that looks suspiciously like a mountain goat ahead of me. You'll see the aircraft is still tracking way off to the right on the track that I had when I engaged toga, and it'll carry on doing that until such time as you engage that lateral mode. Now mountains are the issue here, but it could be a parallel runway, so you'd be crossing into other aircraft's track. So that's just an illustration of the ground track issue. Okay, so we've recovered the previous situation by following a go-around pull-up maneuver, and I'm going to talk about now how we get out of this kind of situation, because it does involve go-around cleanup. The pull-up maneuver for a ground proximity go-around involves taking the automatics out, putting on full thrust and pitching up to about 20 degrees with the wings level and ignoring what the flight director does. So that's why the picture looks very strange. And also you'll see the gear and the flaps are still down as though we were doing a normal landing. Now, once we've got clear of the high ground, we have to think how we're going to get out of this situation. And the first thing anybody really should do is engage an autopilot like that, and I'll switch the flight director back on my side anyway as a backup. Now then, how are we going to get out of this? Well, this is a situation where we've unexpectedly thrown the aeroplane in a strange direction with the configuration all wrong. Other situations that might be the same as this would be wind shear go around, for example, and a TCAS maneuver, particularly in the landing configuration. So anytime you throw yourself in a funny direction with bits in the wrong place, think about the cleanup and how you're going to resolve the situation. And the best way is actually just to follow up the procedures that you do for a normal go around. So follow it through slowly and amend the items for the situation, but it's a way of making sure you don't miss anything. So if I just let it go now with the autopilot in, I'll explain. So the autopilot is back in, the aircraft is accelerating, so the call will be go around flaps 20. That's great. The speed is now safe. I'll retract the flaps to 20 like that. Positive climb, gear up. Well, yes, the gear can come up now, that's not a problem. What about the lateral mode? Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go for a lateral mode with a sensible heading cell the way we want to go. And the last one was flight level change, speed, and a sensible acceleration to whatever you want. And then clean up as you go like this, flaps to 10, flaps to 5, and so on. Let's go to flaps 1 for the sake of argument. And the other things, when that is done, of course, what you need to think about is the after takeoff checks, which would involve making sure you've done the altimeters correctly and so on. And away you go. So that is really a good way of getting yourself out of an unusual situation. Carry out the go around items and amend them as you need to. Okay, here's another one. Let's imagine that we're on the ILS approach, autopilot engaged, locked onto the glide slope, and we're catching up an aircraft in front. ATC tell us to break off the approach, turn left heading 180 and stop the descent at 2,000 feet. This is not the same as an ILS PRM breakout, some of you may know, which is done manually. This approach we can do with the autopilot in. So it's a go around and you're going to press togas. Now togas will send you straight up, as you know, but not if you press flitch straight afterwards with an appropriate height in the alt cell. And then you've now escaped from your locked mode, you can start engaging the other modes and take it round the corner onto the heading. So it would be go around, flitch, flaps 20, gear up, lateral mode, flitch, speed 190. Does that make sense? Let's have a go. ATC, we're now moving. ATC say turn left heading 180, stop descent at 2,000 feet. So 2,000 in the box. Go around, flap 20, hit flitch, flap 20 comes up, gear comes up, lateral mode is next, heading cell, wind the heading round, speed,
radio altimeter,
and the speed up to where you need it. We're on our way. We have alt green. As the aircraft accelerates, we can retract the flaps. And you're back to the situation that you may be familiar with. After that, normal after takeoff checks, and you're on the way. How was that? Here's another one for you. We're on the approach with an engine failed. And look, the aeroplane is looking after the rudder fantastically well. Just a bit of a tweak needed on the rudder maybe, so I'm going to move the rudders. Probably shouldn't be doing this, I don't know. But oh, look at that, it doesn't make any difference. I'm trimming the rudders, I'm not really looking at it, and it's still in trim. Okay, that's fine. So we're coming on down, everything's fine. And great, we're going to carry on and do an automatic landing, except that at the last minute they tell us to go around. So we're going to fly a go around, that's great. Okay, up come the flaps, positive rate, the gear comes up. There we go, thank you Sarah. And look at that, we're in toga and it's containing the engine failure beautifully. Well, right, let's go for a lateral mode. Okay, hang on, what's happening here? We're out of balance, we're turning. I don't understand. Why is it doing that? It's doing it because you are no longer in multi-channel, so the autopilots will not control the rudder for you. And not only that, I had the wrong direction rudder wound in, which made it even worse. So we're now at 90 degrees to the runway. So multi-channel will protect your rudder. Nothing else will do that. To finish off, let's just have a little look at the speed switch. You'll remember in my last video I said that on the cleanup of flight level change speed 190 you press the speed switch even though it may not do anything. Well, that's true, but you're pressing it just in case something else has happened, which means that it will do something. And that something else is that flight level change has actually captured your go-around altitude. So first of all, just a reminder of how we would do it normally. Here we are just coming up to our acceleration altitude, and we'll call that 1100 feet on the barometric altimeter. And I'll just start up the cleanup. So here we go, we're on our way up, waiting for 1100 feet. There it goes, flight level change, it lights up, I press speed, it doesn't, and I wind the speed up. And then we retract the flap in the normal way. The altitude has now captured, and I would clean up the aeroplane. And you can see here that the speed switch is now illuminated because we've captured the altitude. So the speed's under control. Okay, we're leveling off at our go-around altitude. Let's now look what else might happen. Okay, same situation, same go-around, quite a low level off on the go-around altitude, and this time we will let the aircraft capture the altitude while it's still in toga. So that's the big risk here. In that case, flitch won't work. So let's see what happens here. We're on our way, and about now I would be hopefully going to hit flitch, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be a bit slow about it. We'll see what happens. It's captured. Now if I press flitch, I'm pressing it like mad, nothing's happening, and you can see that we still have the speed coming up to the flat placard speed. So if I press speed, you'll see the light now comes on. We've now got control, and now I wind the appropriate speed that I want. So flitch, speed, 190 every time. Well, I hope you found those little hints and tips useful, and next video will be published very soon. I hope you enjoy it. Bye bye for now.